Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Hall, but you may call me Dr. Kennard. And this is the Disappointed Cat Morning Show. We're going to cover a couple of news stories. We're going to have a few laughs. It's going to be a positive day. It's going to be a positive 25 minutes right here. Yeah, we're going to be talking a little bit about fascism, right? But if you looked at yesterday's show and the topics that we covered yesterday about the Roman Catholic Church, about all the scandals, today talking about fascism actually seems pretty positive. So we're going to be talking about fascism. We're going to be talking about a malaria treatment. And we're also going to be talking about a judge putting on hold the crazy law down in Texas. And you know what kind of crazy, you know the crazy law I'm talking about too, right? But first, let's talk fascism. Okay, so there was a new poll out about Donald J. Trump regarding Republicans. And before, this guy, right? I mean, it's been a while since we've actually talked about him. We've been getting so crazy about the church abuses and what's going on in the world. But it's important to remember that this man somehow, arguably, is the biggest threat to the Republic, Donald J. Trump. And before getting into the nuts and the bolts, the nitty and the gritty about this particular new study, this new report, let's just start classifying our terms about what fascism is. This is the dictionary definition from Merriam-Webster, and I just wanted to share it with you in case there are people who are just new here who don't understand what fascism is. A political philosophy, movement, or regime, such as that of the fascisti, that exalts nation and often race above the individual, and that stands for a centralized autocratic government headed by a dictatorial leader, severe economic and social regimentation, and forcible suppression of the opposition. That's just fascism 101. And of course, another facet of fascism is that it isn't really policy based. One of the many critiques of President Trump during his campaign and during his election is that the man doesn't really speak about policies as much as about his personal enemies or broad generalizations. And that's a facet of fascism. That's not a quirk. That's a feature of fascism, because fascism is about the Volk. It's about the people, right? About race many times. And so when Trump doesn't really, when he speaks in generalities, or when he attacks people but doesn't talk that much about policy, that's actually a feature of fascism, everyone. All right, let's talk about the new poll that came out about Republicans and their love affair with fascism. Links in the description. 2/3 of Republicans want Donald Trump to remain a key feature in the National Socialist German Workers' Party. I'm sorry, that was uncalled for. A key figure in GOP Pew survey finds. I have found that when you actually give the actual word for Nazi, the German Socialist, the German National Socialist Workers' Party, I believe that's the proper term for Nazi, that you're far less likely to get into trouble with algorithms. But I digress. Let's continue. 9 months since leaving the Oval Office, former President Donald Trump remains a popular figure among Republicans. A new poll has found about 2/3 of fascists and fascist-leaning independents, all right, they're Republican and Republican-leaning independents, want Trump to be a key figure in the party, according to a Pew Research Center survey of more than 10,000 people last month. That's up 10 percentage points from the 57% who still supported Trump after the January 6th Capitol riot by a mob of his supporters attempting to stop the counting of electoral votes for President Joe Biden, according to the survey. So even after the Capitol 6th insurrection, he still had a 57% approval rate amongst the fascists. And that shouldn't surprise anyone, right? We've been covering Trump here for years at this point. I've been covering him since the 2016 and before the 2016 election on my blog, Laughing in Disbelief. And so, and seeing this 10% bump in his approval rating amongst fascist-friendly Republicans, not surprising at all. While 44% of Republicans want Trump to run in 2024, another 22% say he should support another candidate who aligns with his views. Very liberal thinking, that 22%. They're tired of that fascist. They just want another fascist. Man, how many times can I use the word fascist in a paragraph? The 22% don't want Donald Trump to be their chosen fascist. They just want him to support another fascist candidate. Man, you remember I don't know, I'm old. I remember Captain Kangaroo, when you'd have the word of the day and the ping pong balls would come down from the sky. So I think today's word would be fascism. Didn't Pee-wee's Playhouse do something like that too? Something similar? Trump lost the popular vote by 7 million votes, and Biden had 74 more votes in the Electoral College. But pro-Trump writers, fueled by the former president's unfounded claims of fraud, stormed the Capitol on January 6th to try to overturn the election. That's for those of you who've been sleeping for the last year or two, who weren't aware of the sitch. According to those surveyed by Pew, the remaining 1/3 of Republicans align with the overwhelming majority of Democrats in saying they do not believe Trump should remain as a major national figure in the future. Trump's fiercest support comes from conservative Republicans. I'm going to guess that's evangelicals too, right? According to the poll, about 75% of those who identified as conservative Republicans back Trump as a major political figure, compared with 51% of those who are moderate or liberal Republicans. Most Republicans surveyed also believe that criticism of the former leader, I'm going to throw in leader as against the president, should not be tolerated within their party. About 63% said their party should not accept elected officials who openly criticize Trump, according to the survey. So I think we have all the ingredients of fascism right there. You have a good 63% of Republicans surveyed believe that politicians who criticize Trump, they shouldn't vote for. How crazy is that? But totally expected. This is just human nature, right? That people forget how bad Trump was. And so look at Joseph Stalin, right? Who led the Soviet Union during World War II and up until the 50s. Stalin killed, no one knows how many people Stalin killed of his own people through gulags, through orchestrated famines, purges. And yet, I believe he has a pretty high approval rate in terms of past Russian leaders currently in Russia. If you were going to take a poll of the Russian people, they would say, Joseph Stalin, not a bad guy, pretty cool mustache. All right, I'm going to check out the 42 comments in the chat. I'm going to check that out, see how everyone's doing this morning. Dr. Osiris, hope you're doing well this morning. John Hudson, Tobin Templeman, Grant Farmer, hello. And Simply Secular Dave, glad to see you here. David Paul, I am doing well so far, sir. I actually got 8 hours of sleep last night, as against to the 4 hours of sleep I got the night before. Hey, congratulations. 5 points for you, Scapegoat Iscariot. You got it for being here on time. What's up, Scott? Hey, Rage. How you doing? Always good to see Rage around. The people that don't understand history are condemned to repeat it. Yeah, and even the people who do understand history, who know their history, take the wrong lessons from history. And so it isn't just knowing what the facts are from history, but being able to synthesize those facts into an action plan about what to do or what not to do. The J stands for genius. I see what you did there. Fascism, you mean socialism. This is what I get from the idiot right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, of course, the idiot right always wants you to think about communism, right? They always want to scare you with the big, or socialism. That's what they want to do. Yes, Mussolini's granddaughter, Mussolini, who was actually dictator of Italy before Hitler became dictator of Germany. Interesting point. Mussolini's granddaughter is an elected official in Rome and leader of a far-right party there. She's getting more and more popular. Yeah, well, that's the thing, is that fascism, and it seems to be just part of our makeup. I'm going to bring it back to Richard Dawkins and the selfish gene. And if you've read the selfish gene, there's a bit about ecologically stable strategies. They're basically behavioral strategies that animals use to survive in the wild. And so there is just not one strategy for a species. There are different strategies. So you can have, let's say, we'll take people for an example. You could take that there's some human beings that are doves, right? A certain percentage of human beings. There are a certain percentage of human beings who may just be fascists or fascist leaning. That's their strategy of getting through the world. They have this kind of hierarchical authoritarian bent. And if you haven't read The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins, please do. It's a great book. Very instrumental for me, at least personally. Let's see if I caught. I'm just trying to catch up with everyone right now, of course. I think I did. Davos, good morning. Glad to see that you're here. And of course, Dr. Osiris dropping in links to in the chat. I appreciate it. I just want to point out, and we haven't had time to really discuss this that much, but did you notice that there were a bunch of Supreme Court justices just before the new term started, right? A couple of weeks ago, basically doing a PR tour of the country, saying that, hey, the Supreme Court, we're just not political hacks. That shows the erosion of faith of the Supreme Court, which was, up until recently, considered to be a trustworthy institution, a trustworthy branch of government. And this just helps the Donald Trump agenda, by the way, because the Donald Trump fascist agenda wants no faith in any public institution except for the leader, right? So they want you to have negative feelings about the legislature. They want you to have negative feelings about the Supreme Court. Now, the Supreme Court, of course, it has problems, right? And there's justifiable criticism of it because there are a bunch of political hacks, a lot of them on the Supreme Court. But what I'm saying is, taking a step back, this instance of the Supreme Court justices having to do a cheerleading squad to get people to, for the public, that's another step down. And I'm going to mix my metaphors horribly, the slippery slope towards fascism, towards dictatorship. All right. I hope that made sense for everyone. Okay. Expand the court. I will say this again, and I haven't had a chance to say it for a while. We should be stocking the Senate. The biggest problem that the Democrats are going to have, the biggest crime that Joe Biden is doing, is not using all of his political capital on getting DC to be a state and Puerto Rico to be a state. If you're going to stock the court, which, stack the court, by far the best idea is to stack the Senate with 4 true blue liberal senators. And that would have been the best move, to tell you the truth. And I haven't had a chance to complain about this lately, but infrastructure is nice. Everything is nice. But when you talk about generational change, it should have been Puerto Rico becoming a state. And yes, we could talk about the issues with Puerto Rico being a state. They did vote for it. The population did vote in favor of becoming a state. And of course, DC becoming a state, because DC's wanted to be a state for a long time. And that's, I would say, the chief sin of the Democrats right now, is not pushing for DC and Puerto Rico statehood. All right, I got to get to the next story. Once again, thank you for showing up, everyone. Hit like, subscribe. No ads here, as you can see. It's just me talking to the void with you here participating. So if you want to become a patron, that's great. If you want to become a YouTube member, that's great. If you want to throw a couple of shekels in my Venmo or PayPal, that's in everything below. I promised you positive news, and I'm going to deliver positive news. Many of you, your eyes are going to glaze over when I talk about malaria, but God damn it, it's an important story. Historic. Go ahead. Okay. Obviously, my ability to hit buttons isn't that great. So, all right. So now that's clear. And we'll go on to the next story, everyone, which is about malaria. Historic. Go ahead for malaria vaccine to protect African children. I got infographics. I got words. There's a link in the description below. It's an interesting comparison in this story between malaria and COVID. But let's get right into it. Children across much of Africa are to be vaccinated against malaria in a historic moment in the fight against a deadly disease. Malaria has been one of the biggest scourges on humanity for millennia and mostly kills babies and infants. Having a vaccine after more than a century of trying is among medicine's greatest achievements. The vaccine, called RTSS, was proven effective 6 years ago. Now, after the success of pilot immunization programs in Ghana, Kenya, and Malawi, the World Health Organization says the vaccine should be rolled out across sub-Saharan Africa and other regions with moderate to high malaria transmission. I'm going to say the thing I always say, that as society becomes less miserable, it becomes less religious. So yeah, so that just is going to answer the question of why on an atheist channel would you be talking about malaria? Because there's a lot of religiosity in sub-Saharan Africa. Why? Because living conditions are so poor. This vaccine rollout is going to help the secularization of sub-Saharan Africa. Let's check. What about the infographic? You haven't seen any infographic? You haven't seen anything? All right, so microphone wants to see something cool. So we're going to see something cool. There are 229 million cases of malaria a year. 94% of them are in Africa, and 409,000 deaths a year worldwide. It is a staggering number. And the thing is, we don't hear about it is because it happens in Africa, basically. That's why we don't hear about it here in the States. The findings of the pilot tests the pilot programs to distribute the vaccine were discussed by two expert advisory groups at the WHO on Wednesday. The results from more than 2.3 million doses showed the vaccine was safe and led to a 30% reduction in severe malaria. It reached more than 2/3 of children who don't have bed nets to sleep under. There was no negative impact on other routine vaccines or other measures to prevent malaria. The vaccine was cost effective. So does it create 100% immunity from malaria? No. This is about harm reduction. This is about saving lives. Let's take a look. The vaccine would prevent 4 in 10 cases of malaria and 3 in 10 severe cases. Once again, harm reduction and saving lives, everyone. That's what the vaccine is. That's what this rollout is going to be doing. Why is malaria so hard to beat? Having just seen the world develop COVID vaccines in record time, you might be wondering, what has taken so long with malaria? Malaria is caused by a parasite, which is far more insidious and sophisticated than the virus that causes COVID. Comparing them is like comparing a person and a cabbage. So malaria is a person. COVID is a cabbage. I love that metaphor, that analogy. The malaria parasite has evolved to evade our immune system. That's why you have to catch malaria time and time again before starting to get even limited protection. It is a complicated life process across two species, humans and mosquitoes, and even inside our body, it morphs between different forms as it infects liver cells and red blood cells. Developing a malaria vaccine is like nailing jelly to a wall. I love this writer. This writer really is crushing it on this article. And RTTS is only able to target the sporozoite form of the parasite. This is the stage living between being bitten by a mosquito and the parasite getting to the liver. It is why the vaccine is only 40% effective. However, this is still a remarkable success and paves the way for the development of more potent vaccines. Pretty freaking incredible. Good news overall. See, I promised good news, microphone, but you also promised good news about the Texas federal judge blocking that stupid law in Texas, and you're running down on time. What are you going to do? Are you going to check the chat? Or are you going to go to the video? I think I'm going to have to go to the video. I promise good news, and I'm going to deliver good news, microphone. Let's check out this video, everyone. Name of the video. Drum. Let's see. Texas federal judge blocks state's controversial abortion law, saying it's unconstitutional. Woohoo! Screw Greg Abbott. Here it comes. So much good news, I don't even know what to do with it.
We begin with breaking news overnight from Texas on the state's controversial abortion law. A federal judge is putting the measure on hold, calling it unconstitutional. Jan Crawford is following that story. Jan, good morning to you.
Well, good morning. Yes, on the reaction among Biden administration officials, abortion rights advocates was relief. The judge's decision stems from a Justice Department lawsuit against Texas last month, just days after SB 8 went into effect. The law outlaws abortions once embryonic activity is detected, which is usually around 6 weeks, and that can be before some women even know they're pregnant. And it allows private citizens to enforce it by bringing civil lawsuits against anyone who helps a woman get an abortion after that, with fines starting at $10,000. But in a strongly worded 113-page ruling, Judge Robert Pittman said the law was blatantly unconstitutional. From the moment SB 8 went into effect, women have been unlawfully prevented from exercising control over their lives, and this court will not sanction one more day of this offensive deprivation of such an important right. Now, in a statement, the Biden administration cautioned that the fight has only just begun. Texas, of course, will appeal, and the Supreme Court is taking up that Mississippi abortion ban in December that is likely going to determine not only the fate of this law in Texas, but other states as well. Nate?
We will keep an eye on that. Jan, thank you.
All right. So in the past, I haven't had to mute my mic while showing videos, but now I do apparently. So I'm going to have to remember that. Thank you for letting me know about the echo, everyone. Yeah, so very positive. Right now that the court decided, the judge decided to put that law on a shelf. Of course, that means it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Possibly. Yeah, Rage. Yeah, I mean, Roberts is our only hope. Yeah, yeah, and that's sad and disturbing. Mike, get your shit together. Well, to tell you the truth, this, you can't blame this mic, because Mike, I don't actually use this mic anymore because I screwed it up by putting and using him in such a way with them. I don't know, everyone. So Mike is asking me to remind you that there's an after party after show at 9:30. Link to be on the panel is below, and you can join us and we can talk about anything. Of course, yesterday we talked a lot about the Catholic Church stories. Yeah, today I don't know what we're going to talk about because it's always open. I should show you something funny. I have something funny before I sign off. And let me show you something funny because it's funny. It's a cat playing with it looks like a mouse lever toy. I would love to. I have to look for one on Amazon. I have to check one out and see if my cat will play with it. I don't know if she will. Checking out the chat one last time before signing off. Let's see. What's up, Bonnie? You can't find tomorrow's yesterday morning's after show. Yeah, that's because I said some radical things, and I thought I would put it away because I said some things, and I'm afraid to get banned by YouTube. So yeah, I had concerns about saying things about the Catholic Church. All right, I'm going to drop the thank you video for YouTube members, for patrons. Hey, doing the after party after show at 9:30, which is like less than 5 minutes away, almost now 4 minutes away. So I'll see you in a few. Take care, everyone.